So she read first 2 or 3 pages of the book and she
Mm.
says, Dad, I don't want it. Publish it.
Mm.
Always thank God for the abundance. And don't you dare say that, there is any scarcity, because there is not. The scarcity is in your mind. 50% of the population of India is sitting at home.
Yeah, yeah.
Is absolutely the biggest misconception we have. In fact, I think women are better multitaskers than men. And these women are managing their families and running NGOs
Correct.
and working for environment, working for education, working for cleanliness. And so many such women need to be applauded and need to be recognized. And I've read a couple of books. Is Michelle Obama, who
Yeah.
said, there's nothing that we can achieve. And if somebody tells you you can't do it, just don't listen to them.
Hi, Amit, and welcome to the About Her Show. This is a show where we get trailblazing women to share the story of their lives with us, to tell us about their struggles, challenges, successes, failures, all of that, so that not only do they get to showcase themselves, but they also help us inspire other women. Now, along with women, we also get men on the show, men who champion such women. And having read your book, Overflow, and also having interacted with you on a couple of occasions, what I figured was that you are an extremely, how should I say, a sympathetic, empathetic person who respects other people. And when it comes to people, it's not only men, but women as well. So, if I may say so, just the perfect fit for our show. And there was no way that
Thank
I
you.
wasn't going to get you here. So, a very, very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Sangeeta ji, for having me. It's really been, you're so kind to have, host me here.
Pleasure is all mine. So, let's get started. And as an icebreaker, if you could give us some insights into your childhood and formative years, and if you think that those experiences helped shape your character. And in this context, I would definitely like you to talk about your book Overflow, because that's a memoir. There you have spoken about your life. So if you could shed light on your life while keeping the book in view.
My formative years, I was born into a typical Delhi 6 Bania family.
Okay.
Not very educated, but third generation businessmen in their own right. And the most educated person in my family was my mother, though you can imagine, I would say that she was married at the age of 15.
Mhm.
And I could never understood why my Nanaji side, who were again academicians in their own right, put her into Wellams and then Convent of Jesus and Mary, and then married her at the age of 15. I was born when she was 16. And owing to her going to CJM, I think I got into St. Columbus in in New Delhi. Otherwise, a guy from Delhi 6 would, I don't know, would not have, if my grandparents had their way, I would have been, going into some Chandni Chowk school, which was like 100 meters away from home. So, and that made a huge difference. That
Okay.
education made a huge difference in my life. I have written a lot about how I remember my teachers. I've dedicated my book to one of my class teachers from school,
Uh-huh.
and those did shape a lot of things. Though
Okay.
again, as a typical family, the environment was very conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, which helped me when I was raising my own daughter, as the way I was raised, what not to do,
Yeah.
was very important for me to raise her. And that is one of the reasons for me to break away from my family one day and
Mm.
then bring up my child the way I wanted to bring her up.
Okay.
So I was born into a very wealthy family, and but that as things are,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes wealth is not the only thing that matters.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It's just one of the things. You do need money to get by in life, but definitely it
Yeah.
isn't, one of those things. So, if
Funny thing is, my grandfather, who's just educated till fourth standard, who was running he was running many companies.
yeah.
And my mother used to always complain, that on my report card day, my grandfather would not be interested in the percentage I got. Would just pass ho gaya? Has he passed? Okay,
Yeah,
fine. He
yeah,
goes to the next class. That's
yeah.
that.
Mm, mm,
And she used to always complain, that's not the way. And and so many things were very funny. I
mm,
wish I had a different childhood and perspective of how my father treated me.
Yeah.
And I just wish I could change that time, because that is one thing that I really has haunted me all of my life. But my
Mm-hmm.
mother has been always very kind to me. My grandparents were phenomenal people,
Mm.
and I miss my grandfather a lot. If you've read my book, it's all
Yes,
about
yes,
my relationship with my grandfather.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you could, tell us a little bit about your book as well and how your daughter, not inspired, but I think pushed you to write the book. So if you could elaborate
So,
on that.
so as things would have it, this was uh, year 2021 during the Delta wave,
Mm-hmm.
and my father was in hospital, and uh, things were bad, as you can see.
Yeah.
You would remember. And I was wondering, and we were getting the news how bodies were returned to the relatives, and some relatives got different, bodies which were not their relatives. And it was a mayhem at that time. So I was wondering, if something were to happen to me,
Hmm. Hmm.
how would my daughter remember me 10, 15 years
Okay.
hence?
Hmm.
So I wrote a letter to my daughter, and I thought I'll gift it to her on the day of her graduation.
All
She
right.
did her master's in film production from Los Angeles, and so I wrote a letter and gifted that. It was a big letter, so it was like a file I gifted to her, and I said, "This is my gift to you,
Hmm.
and I may not always be there for
Hmm.
you, and I can tell you how to walk the line, but you have to walk your own line."
Absolutely. Hmm.
So this is the guide. So she read first 2 or 3 pages of the book, and she
Hmm.
says, "Dad, I don't want it. Publish it." So I said, "This is my life. I don't want to publish it." And he says, "No, no, I know your life, and I want people to read about it,
Okay.
and you have to publish it." And then she would call me from US, "Did you start doing it? Did you start doing it?" And that's how I started writing that letter in form of a book. So
All right.
if you've read my book, you will find it starts with the letter. It starts by saying, "Dear Radhika."
Yes.
And
Yes.
the first 2 pages of the letter remains the same. And
Mhm.
then it took the format of the book. So that's how this came about as a book.
Great. So we have parents pushing children, and here it was the other way around, right?
It was. It was.
So I think we must thank her for doing this, because it is like, I mean, I told you I just started reading it yesterday, and I just have about, I think, 30 pages left now. An extremely well thought out, well put together book, very easy to read, and so many life lessons. I think
Thank you.
kudos to you and to her for bringing this out. So, as we were talking, and you mentioned that education was something that you got from your mother, in the sense that she was the one who encouraged you and pushed you, into becoming an educated person. And I'm sure there were other life lessons also that you may have picked up from not only your mother, but other women in your life as well. So, reflecting back, could you share some of those lessons?
So, my nani, my mother's mother, and my mother were the only two women in my life who were very prominent.
Okay.
My grandparents had moved out, and they lived most of the year in Rishikesh,
Mm-hmm.
because my grandfather always believed that once you are 52, 53, then move on to the next stage of life, that is Vanprasth. So, being that he moved out.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my nani and my mother used to always tell me one thing, and we have seen bad times in the family. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, born into a very rich family. My father had declared bankruptcy. We had to move into a very small house. Those were like very tough times, And my mother used to always say every morning, "Thank God for the abundance." And I
Okay.
said, "Mom, we don't have abundance." She said, "Yes, we do have abundance.
Mm.
Always thank God for the abundance. And don't you dare say that, there is any scarcity, because there is not. The scarcity is in your mind. And even today, when I would say, "Ma, abhi nahi hai," so she would say, don't forget, just say, "We have, but
Mm.
maybe later." Never
Oh.
say we don't have. We
Hmm.
always have, and
Hmm.
we always will have. And that she keeps correcting me even now. And I think that is a very important lesson for all of us to understand. Always
That
thank
is,
God for the abundance we have.
because I think it is what you manifest. If you
Yes,
manifest abundance, that is what you will get. And if you manifest scarcity, that is
yes.
what you will get. So I also am a firm believer of that. You get what you manifest. So of course, your mother's influence, and then I mean, as I've gathered, your daughter has also had a role to play in your life. And going by that, have you ever had a moment where a woman's perspective completely changed your outlook on something? Because, we always have a way of doing things. We believe things are supposed to happen in a certain way. And if I may say so, most men would not think that a woman could be or should be able to change their perspective. But do you think that has ever happened to you?
I'll give you an example that I've written in my book.
Okay.
So I believe in astrology.
Yeah. All right.
And I was telling my daughter, and my daughter has had her share of mental health issues, and she has been, seeking help for the last 8, 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was talking to my daughter. She was in the States, and she was like, "Dad, a lot of people are being laid off, and in the US there is an issue with the jobs." So I told her that I spoke to an astrologer, and he said from the year 2023 your daughter is going to have her golden period of life.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So she said that it all depends on what golden period is it for meaning for you and for me. For me, because I deal with so much mental health issues, it might also mean that from 2023, I might be able to cope better with my mental health issues and
Yeah.
as such, focus more on my career. And I was fascinated
Mhm.
by her response to this. And I'm getting goosebumps while actually, talking about this. And I wrote that sequence in my book that,
Yeah.
we learn from our children
We
how
do.
to cope. And she was like that. It might be that I might be able to cope better with my mental health issues because these are things to stay. I mean, we have to just cope with them and we
Yes.
have to accept them. And it might be that, in 2023 onwards, I get more strength in handling that. And I thought that was a phenomenal way
Hmm.
of putting things into perspective. I think our children are smarter than us.
They surely are.
One
And
more example I'll give you of this
yeah.
morning. I
Hmm.
was talking to my mother-in-law and I noticed her, she's 80 years old, and I
Okay.
noticed complete white hair. And I said, I'm noticing white hair. She says, I've stopped using mehendi.
Okay.
I
Uh,
said, you don't use mehendi only for color. It also cools off your head. And she says, oh man, I always am as cool as one can be. So I don't need mehendi to cool my head off. So, all these small, small things,
yeah.
they,
Yeah.
they, they matter. They are life lessons. And you learn from, your daughter, you learn from your elders, and you just keep learning. And these are phenomenal people.
Yes. I think, learning is all about being open also.
Yeah.
You have a flexible and an open mindset where you are okay to accept a different point of view, a different perspective. Of course, there can be so much learning because we are
Yeah.
used to, thinking in a particular fashion, but here comes someone who has a different viewpoint. And if you're open to it, we can definitely learn from it.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, this incident with my daughter was so important that while I was writing my book, I wanted it to come in as a part of the book. That yeah, what a phenomenal way of looking at things.
Absolutely. I also went through it. And golden hour, we would associate it with maybe more of material wealth or something like that. And
Yeah,
we spoke
exactly.
about
I
something,
was talking about that, and she took it in a very different way, and I thought this is wonderful.
such a fresh and such a different, point
Yeah,
of view.
absolutely.
All right. So, Amit, we are, many times, in fact, most of the times, we are plagued by stereotypes, things that we do which have become so normal for us, but they are the result of these norms, these beliefs that you have. So when we look at women, we have so many things, there are so many misconceptions and stereotypes around us. So if you were to look around us, if you could tell us what is the most absurd misconception you've encountered about women and how did you debunk it?
See, as I told you, I am from a typical Bania family from Delhi 6, and the biggest misconception you will find there is women are supposed to be only homemakers.
Okay. Hmm,
I
yeah.
have fought against this my entire life. I used to always tell my father, especially, that if every person were to think like this, 50% of your population, you will workforce, you will remove from your, you will remove, and then you talk about lack of GDP and lack of growth. I mean, 50% if of the population of India is sitting at home
Yeah. Yeah.
is absolutely the biggest misconception we have. In fact, I think women are better multitaskers than men.
Hmm,
I
hmm.
mean, we don't have, I mean, if you ask me, particularly describe yourself in 2 words, I will say fundamentally impatient. And I cannot say that about any women in my household. They are not impatient.
Hmm.
And that is the first virtue you need for a business leader. Not
Yes.
to be impatient, to be pragmatic. And we have seen in our lives. I mean,
Right.
we have many examples as such. So this is the one stereotype that you and imagine. My grandmother and my nanny have visited I mean, their husband's place of work just 2 or 3 times in their entire life.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, why not?
Hmm. Hmm.
So that is one thing that, needs to change even now.
Yes. There are many parts of our country where, though, of course, education, I think, has come a long way and girls are being educated, but still there are pockets where this still needs to be addressed and then they need to become a part of the workforce as well. It is both of
I
those
have
things.
seen very, very wealthy families. I have seen very highly educated. They will look for very wealthy, very highly educated bahus for their sons, but they don't want them to work.
Absolutely. I totally agree
And then
with
what's the point? Then why do you look even at their education in their marital CVs?
you.
How does it matter if your bahu is an MBA if you want to tell her, okay, be at home?
No, but isn't that something they want to flaunt? They want to tell the world. It's just like,
Exactly. But then what's the point? What's the
absolutely.
point? Unless and until you work and they can and who better than your own family working in your company? I
Yes,
mean, that is you need people you can trust and which better workforce. And still, so things might be changing. I don't think they're changing that fast.
no, they are not. We still have miles to go. I definitely agree. And, especially in the upper middle class of the society, I think this is still very, very prevalent. Either women become complacent or they are kind of pushed and influenced into becoming complacent, telling them that there is no need for you to do it. So that
I
mind,
have
yeah,
I have friends who are doctors,
yeah,
and if you talk to them offline, and if they will tell you, and that the number of people who come asking for child sex determination
mm,
pre-birth, he
yeah,
says, are more from the affluent families rather than from the middle class and the lower middle class. In fact, the perspective is opposite, but that is not what is happening. It's not from the lower, it's from the high,
yes,
rich families who want this determination because of the want of a boy.
yeah.
And all these things, I have written about it in my book when my daughter Radhika was, born, and
I know,
how
I know.
I was desperate, chanting that, I
Yeah,
get a daughter because she's the only girl in 4 generations in our family.
yeah. I've read that.
Hmm.
All right. So, Amit, everyone in our lives, whether it is us or it is people close to us, we're always looking for some kind of support, help, encouragement, during times of need or, when we're going through some stressful times. Now, when we look at men around us, we usually find that men have two ways of supporting women, so called supporting women. It is either by coming across as, the knight in shining armor, that I will do it for you and I will rescue you and all of that. Or if it's not that, that it's a very patronizing and a very condescending way of offering that support, where the woman is belittled and made to, if I may say so, feel like a fool for having landed in whatever soup she may have. So, when you look at the women in your life, how do you support them?
Just a little nudge. My
Yeah.
wife is a phenomenal painter.
Okay.
We made a house and we made a studio for her,
Okay.
but she was still not using that studio for her paintings, and she has a god gift. I mean, she has talent, she has god gift. If you combine the two, then magic can happen.
Yes.
So last year I did push her to
Hmm.
join an art school, and she's going very close by and she's joined this art school, and she is there from 10 o'clock in the morning till about 3 in the afternoon, and she is now living her life and doing what she always loved, and she's now en route to becoming a professional painter.
Wonderful.
That little nudge
Hmm.
for her to step out. She has worked her life, she sacrificed, then became a homemaker. So
Hmm.
she needed that little nudge to get out of the house and start working again. That is all you need. I mean, nothing else can you do. I can't paint for her.
No, no.
I can't tell her what to do. That little nudge, if you can give, and then they can do everything on their own. We think we can do it for them. No, they don't need our help.
Yes, yes, yes. I think that's what it is, which you mentioned in your book also. It's that, that cushion, main hoon na, someone out there who you can fall back on and who is just nudging you and pushing you in the right direction.
I'll give
Some,
you another example.
yeah, sure.
An example that actually I quote a lot of people. So as I told you, I believe in astrology and I go to this one
Yes.
Panditji. And his wife has studied till seventh standard. Now their grandchildren are growing up. They ask Dadi, how much have you studied? So
Hmm.
he made his wife, join school at the age of 63.
Wow.
She passed 12th with 62%. And
Hmm.
now she's in second year of her graduation. And now she's 68.
Wonderful.
I
Wonderful.
have to mention this on this show because this is inspiration.
Yes,
And
it
so it was like, Manju, if she can go at that age, why can't you go and join an art school, live your life, and you have a studio in the house, and you can make your paintings, we can put the paintings on the wall, you can do your own art show. All these things, what we learn from, I mean, you don't need people to come and tell you things. You also observe from your surroundings and the people you meet, and these are inspirational people.
absolutely. So you just have to pick it up and then just show the path. That's
Exactly. So initially, Panditji's wife used to come and tell me, Amit, I feel so awkward going to the school and children are sitting there and I'm sitting on the table. And now, every year when she gets her mark sheet, she will tell her husband, can you please send it to Amit? Because he'll be
uh,
very happy to see this mark
yeah,
sheet.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe not completely in the same way, but I can resonate with this because I started my doctorate 3 years ago and I had to attend classes with some people who were definitely, much younger than me by a couple of generations. And then some of them had been my students as well, who I
Yeah.
taught at the undergrad level. So, of course, you need, of course, your, how should I say, the willpower, but along with that, if that support also comes from
Yeah.
the men or people in your life,
Exactly.
it just helps you.
Little nudge. Little nudge. You take the first step outside. That's it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, then they can do it on their own. Now
Yes.
she doesn't need a driver waiting for her. Now, if the driver is late, she'll start the car and she'll go. She will not miss her classes.
Yes. So that's what the
Hmm.
support has done.
Yeah.
So, Amit, digressing a little bit from here. Now we see a lot of people, and of course, you are telling me about your wife and about Panditji's wife, decided to do something very late in life. But we also see that it is happening a lot. A lot of people are switching careers. They are taking on things which they'd never done before, taking to writing and maybe, the culture, whatever it is. So much stuff happening, which I like to term as midlife rebooting. In your early 40s and maybe late 40s is when a lot of people are switching careers or starting to do other things. So what are your views on this? Why do you think this is happening now? Is it that the earlier generation wasn't aware of this possibility or they couldn't do it? What are your views on this?
Awareness. It is purely awareness. I did it. I have changed my career thrice.
Okay.
I'm becoming a restaurateur.
Oh, wow. All
I,
right.
I did my business in chemicals. I did construction.
Hmm.
I became a restaurateur. I'm actually now contemplating doing something else. I'm working towards it.
Okay.
Similarly, we go, see, earlier what used to, I'll give you an example. My daughter was going for her psychology undergrad.
Hmm.
And so the person at the immigration asks her, oh, so what are you going to study overseas? She says, psychology.
Hmm.
So he said, Beta, you should become an engineer or a doctor.
Yeah. Okay.
And she says, Sir, could you please kindly stamp my passport first and then I will reply to you? So he stamps her passport. He says, Sir,
Huh.
you should come back to reality.
Hmm.
Engineering and becoming an engineer and doctor are not the only things.
Yes.
Girls are doing so much more. I mean, so don't even think of just these two things. It's more awareness that is there today that women are. My dear friend's wife is running a ace business of selling cakes and pastries and
Oh.
all the bakery products from Gurgaon.
Hmm.
Another friend's wife is doing packaging, and my cousin's wife is doing decorative rakis and the envelopes and everything custom design, and these are like now scaling up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
earlier, who could have thought with all, doing all these things, but now as exposure is coming in,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and the belief that one can do,
Yeah.
I think is encouraging, and I think they should be more encouraged. Entrepreneurism is at its all-time high, I think.
Yes, I absolutely agree. There is so much awareness, there is so much exposure, and because of that, not only are people willing to, take that step, but there is also acceptance because nobody sees it as something which is out of the ordinary or out of the blue. There is
Yeah.
accept also, there is so much flexibility in the way we think nowadays
Mm.
that all this is becoming possible. All right. So, Amit, coming back to a woman centric question. If you could swap roles with a woman for a day, who would it be and why?
Okay. Two women.
Okay.
First would be my mother-in-law.
All
Let
right.
me tell you about her.
Hmm.
Married to a very big political family,
Okay.
lost her husband very young at the age of 52 in 1998.
Okay.
Since 1998, managing over 100, and she's 80. She's had cancer. She's surviving cancer patient. It's been
Mm-hmm.
15 years, touch wood.
Yeah.
She's not infected again. But with all the problems that she's facing, she manages over 150 acres of farmland. She
Wow.
manages a cooperative sugar factory. Oh, for 9 consecutive years, that factory has got the President's Award for for financial discipline, for exports, for everything. 9 consecutive years.
Okay.
And she's still, like she said in the morning, I'm the cool dude. And she is. To
Hmm.
be in her shoes, being the eldest in the family, being a conservative Rajput family, doing all that day in and day out without, frowning. I've never seen a frown.
Hmm.
When even when she's not well, and now age is catching up, and
Yeah.
post cancer, radiation side effects are catching up. She will never frown, and to be in her shoes and to pass one day being her,
Yeah.
going to talking to labor, seeing agriculture happening in the farms, then coming back, going to the sugar factory, then coming back, and then huge family, and then maintaining that family relation, being the eldest in the family is not easy.
No, definitely not. Yeah. So, yeah,
The
it's
the
extremely
other person I
inspiring.
can think of who I've always been fascinated about is Indra Newey.
Okay. Hmm.
Handling a company with over 300,000 people, PepsiCo, being the head of Pepsi for over 12 years,
Yeah.
and and writing to her employees so often, talking about her and her daughters and her children's and her husband's interaction, and sharing it with her people, family, and telling people that, oh, I am also a human.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
what goes in her mind, how she does that, what makes her take certain decisions, how she goes about doing it is always fascinating. I mean, there can be many examples, but I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
give
Of course.
you,
Of course.
one very close to home, which is
Yeah.
like an inspiration. And then, in the corporate world, if we were
Yes.
like to talk about, is Indra Nooyi.
Okay. Great. Yes. Both very, very inspirational women, your mother in law and Indira
Yeah.
Nooyi.
Yeah.
So, Amit, women are always, I mean, they are known for their multitasking abilities. Now, it's not always a matter of choice. I think it is because of so many responsibilities that are kind of thrust on us. We have to multitask, but at the same time, we do manage to multitask as well. So, again, if you look around you, what is the most impressive display of multitasking that you've witnessed from a woman in your life?
All women.
Yeah.
As I said, men don't have even a fraction of the patience. I mean, I have not seen any man, my grandfather being one different example, but he too was not that impatient as my grandmother. But if
Hmm.
you see whatever, okay, so Manju will get up in the morning, go to the class at 10 o'clock, come back by 3:30, but she'll make sure what is cooked, what is being done. If I have some issues, then can you please take care. She will tell the people at home that
Yeah.
bhaiya has this problem, can you please take care of that, and all that. I mean, say multitasking is a very simple easy word to say, but to actually do it, I don't think in my family, there may be many men, but in my family, including me, we can do only multitasking for the things we want to do,
Okay.
not for the things we have to do. Women do multitasking for what they also want to do and have to do. And that is a big difference.
Yeah, I agree. That is a big difference because I think half the times when you're multitasking, you are doing a lot of stuff that, given a choice, you may not want to do, but then it is a responsibility, and like I said,
Yeah,
it has been thrust upon you, so you will do it. Yeah, so it's not
exactly.
easy, but then they do it. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So has there been an incident in your life when a woman totally outsmarted you?
Can I say next question?
Why? You don't think there's ever been a
Okay.
woman who's outsmarted you?
Okay. So I don't know if that has happened, but when you're a father of a daughter,
Hmm.
you let her outsmart you each time. You want to be second in the race. I'm just trying to dodge the question.
Yeah,
I'm not
I can
answering
see
you
that.
specifically
I
for
can
this.
see that.
Yeah. But that's that. But that's
Don't
that.
you
I
have,
don't think,
no, like I said, don't you
I
have
don't
any,
know,
huh?
but I don't know how to answer the question. Or no,
Sorry?
no, I don't think I want to answer that question. I still want to say no woman has ever outsmarted me. But
So would
that's
you,
why I said, okay, can we talk about the next question, please?
so would you say that, but I insist. So would you say that about your daughter as well? She's also never been
Oh,
able to
yes.
outsmart you. Hmm.
They have. I can give you, I mean, not specific examples, but there are times
Yeah.
where, like the one discussion I told you that my daughter and I had. I mean, the answer she gave me in a way did outsmart me. That, okay, Dad, you are only looking at things in one perspective. You're not looking at things at the in a wider perspective.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even such conversations where you think you are being smart, but you were told that no, Dad, there are other ways of looking at things, is a way that the women around you outsmart you. And
Yes.
these are candid conversation you have with your wife, you have, with your daughter. And though you may not, or why should I say you? I may not admit it, but
Hmm.
there are times where, oh, Amit, but you are thinking about this, but what about this? And I never thought of it from that way. And
Yeah.
yeah, they do in their own subtle, polite way, do outsmart you many times.
But yes, like, so not only, so you're right, there are instances, but then you have to accept that this is what happened. That's when
You
you,
do subconsciously. You may not
yeah,
want to
yeah,
be, up front. I don't know when my wife sees this interview, say, you never say that to me on my face, but subconsciously you do realize that
yeah,
yes, this is a different way
yes,
of doing things.
correct, correct. Yeah. You just have to accept it. All right. So, Amit, while we understand and sometimes believe that, women are doing a lot when it comes to their personal and professional lives, contributing in many, different ways, yet many times, and if I may say so, most of the times, they're not appreciated fully for what they bring to the table, what they do, whether it is their profession or their personal life. So, in your view, what is the most underappreciated aspect of women's achievements in society?
See, we always talk about women who have been in the limelight.
Okay.
We know Indira Gandhi, we know Angela Merkel, we know all the women leaders. But what about the grassroots activists
Yeah.
who have really led, a change? I
Yeah.
had the opportunity of meeting, and the first name that comes to my mind is a woman, a phenomenal woman I met twice in the 90s is Medha Patkar.
Okay. All right. Mm.
Her environmental activism, the Narmada Bachao Abhiyan and all that, I have been with her, worked with her. And these women who work on the grassroots level in
Yeah.
the villages, for example, new doctors who get their postings in villages,
Yeah.
just as, they become MBBS, they want to go to their post-graduation, they have to do internship at grassroots level in the villages. What they face is not celebrated. These women who work at the grassroots level, again in social activism, in running NGOs, educating the underprivileged, underserved Shiksha Abhiyan, and
Yeah.
all these people are unnoticed,
Yes.
and these they are not celebrated enough.
No.
So as a society, we like glamour, we like names. Not
Yeah.
that they have not done their part, but
Yeah.
what about the amount of women who are doing a lot of things on the ground level and just go unnoticed? I have actually written in my book that all the proceeds from my book will go to an NGO.
Mm, mm,
It's
mm,
called Neo Foundation.
mm.
And it's Dr. Anubhuti Bhatnagar
Yeah.
who's running the foundation. And they have taken a house somewhere on Sona Road in Gurgaon.
Mm-hmm.
And they are educating children who are the children of maids, nurses, security guards for 500, 600 rupees
Mm-hmm.
a month. They are not only educating them till the 12th, they are assisting them in finding jobs.
Wow.
And you have to go to that school and see the phenomenal painting these children are doing, the art they are doing, and the level of English they are speaking. And she's empowering this kind of, these children.
Mm-hmm.
And these kind of people like Dr. Anubhuti Bhatnagar, they should be celebrated.
Mm-hmm.
And they go unnoticed. In fact, these women are doing a lot more. So I just think that, this kind of grassroots level activism and grassroots level support that the women are providing should be celebrated more.
Right. So you're right. You see, every like woman, of course, when you step out of your comfort zone, say out of your home, to start doing something, that in itself is a struggle. Then, of course, you're dealing with your family and all those issues. And then you pick up something which is not that noticeable, which people don't talk about, which they don't realize you're doing because maybe you're also not talking about it. So
Yeah.
that actually, of course, makes it even more difficult. So yeah, these things need to be appreciated and brought to the limelight. And I'm so glad that you're talking about these women and bring this to the
No,
limelight.
because you're not doing something that is very a very Bollywood or a very Hollywood type of a
Yeah.
thing. You're doing your own small, and then obviously the kind of pressures they have. Tumko kya padi hai? Why do you need to do it? There are
Right.
so many others who want to do it, but somebody got to do it, and these women are managing their families and running NGOs
Correct.
and working for environment, working for education, working for cleanliness. And so many such women need to be applauded and need to be recognized. And otherwise, and they are role models.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They
Yeah.
are role models. Okay. So, tell me something, Amit. We, do get inspired by quotes and sayings, which, we can attribute to famous people or, sometimes not so famous people, but they resonate with us in one way or the other. So, women, of course, also are not behind in this when they, they have to come up with an empowering quote or something like that. So, what is your most, how should I say, favorite empowering quote from a woman, and how has that inspired you or influenced you?
So I will not give you a quote by a woman, but
Okay.
I'll give you a quote that changed in time. So we all have seen Star Trek series,
Yes.
children. So
Yeah.
Star Trek series used to start, and I wrote a blog for Women's Day in which I mentioned this, that how things have changed over time. That
Okay.
Star Trek used to start with the lines, space, the final frontier, these are the voyages of Star Trek Enterprise, and end to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Yes. Yes.
Now what Star Trek? They have changed it to boldly go where no one has gone before. It's
Yeah.
not about a man anymore.
Anymore. Yes. 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 So
Yeah,
that, yeah,
they
that,
changed it. And these are iconic lines, from 1968 till now, we
yeah.
see Star Trek, and they had to change it because it is not about the man anymore. But
Yes.
otherwise, one of the most phenomenal women who you read about, and I've read a couple of books, is Michelle Obama, who
Yeah.
said, there's nothing that we can achieve. And if somebody tells you you can't do it, just don't listen to them. So I think, yeah, but then I thought I should tell you that one thing comes to my mind, and I keep telling people when Star Trek can change their opening lines, I mean, that is where one should understand that it's not about the man anymore. It's about the whole community.
Absolutely. So this shows that there is change happening. It may not be at the pace we desire or wish for, but it is definitely happening and happening everywhere, right?
The sad part is that we are looking for the change. The sad part is that this is not taken for granted. This should be automatic, right? When we
Yeah.
talk about womanhood, why should we even talk about womanhood? They are part of our society. So why are we even talking about it? We are talking about it means society has yet to mature a lot.
But that's true, isn't it? Society does
Yeah,
have to mature. I mean, they're still not
exactly.
there. Because again, you see, like we spoke about stereotypes, it's not only women who are, influenced, even men. When men
Yeah.
are raised, when boys are raised in a certain way, you can't blame them also for being the way. Though, of course, having said that, I also feel that once you grow up, you become mature adults and you know what you're doing is not right, then you have every reason to start trying to at least correct it. So as children, maybe you don't have control over the way, you are raised or brought up, but
Yeah.
adults, you should be able to, make the correction wherever
I hope so that change comes about, because I just thank God. The more I can thank God, the more I can say that I have a daughter.
Yes, that's so true. All right, Amit, so we come to the end of this, but then now we have the rapid fire round, which is 5 quick questions and 5 quick answers. So are we ready?
Okay,
Yes.
I hope so.
All right. So the first one, an easy one. If you could have dinner with any fictional character, who would it be?
Fictional character.
Yes.
Oh, I'm not into fiction at all. I
So,
can
all right.
talk about mythological characters, but
Okay,
I'm not
sure.
not fictional characters.
So fine. Mythological character would also do.
Ahilya
All right. Okay, fine.
from Ramayana.
All right. Next. Now, you, of course, run your own enterprise and you've been doing it for a considerable amount of time for now. So, what is, according to you, the biggest myth about entrepreneurship?
Oh, that entrepreneurship is anything to do with running a business.
Oh, yes,
I don't think so.
Hmm.
You can write a book and you're an entrepreneur. You can be a clerk and be an entrepreneur. The way you manage your domain,
Yes,
right? And I have read it, I've said it in my book.
yes.
The dictionary definition of entrepreneurship should be removed. That's not the correct definition. Entrepreneur is a state of mind. How you do anything that is given to you.
Right. All right. The next one. So, can you describe your entrepreneurial journey using a movie title?
Very nice question. Okay, movie is my domain, but an entrepreneurial using a movie, In Pursuit of Happiness.
Wow, that's a good one. Really nice. All right. So, from an entrepreneur, it's not that you've switched, but you did start to write. So, one word that describes your writing journey.
Very difficult. 2 words.
All right. Yes.
Very difficult. Because these are memoirs. So when you write about certain things in your life which are very painful, you actually give up. I gave it up writing 5 times, because you know what happens? There is an incident.
Hmm.
So you write it.
Yeah.
Then you rewrite it. Then you read about it. Then you want to put it in the right perspective in that chapter, in the right sequence of paras. And you're living that moment each time you're reading a particular incident that has been very painful. It's not an easy thing to do.
No, not at all. Not at all. I completely agree. And finally, Amit, if you were rather a superhero, what would be your name?
Okay, if I would be a superhero, what would be my name?
Yes.
You know, my grandfather, when I was born, I don't know about superheroes, kept my name Harshvardhan, and my father cut it to Amit. It just starts and ends like anything, but I love the name my grandfather kept for me. So I
Okay.
would still want to be called by that name.
Right.
But superheroes, we have had, I have always been Captain James T. Kirk.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, so
Star Trek.
that is not a superhero, but someone that you idolize with. Yeah.
Perfect. Fine. All right, Amit. So that brings us to the end of this conversation. And yes, extremely enlightening. And, like you said, you were talking about perspectives. So here again, when I was listening to you talking and sharing your experiences, it was a different perspective. And I always feel that any different perspective, any different viewpoint helps you understand a situation, whether it is gender diversity or it is anything else that we are talking about. It helps us understand it in a different way and in a more holistic way. So thank you for being on the show, giving us your perspectives, and for your time.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'm really, truly thankful and indebted. Thank you so much, Sangeeta.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for tuning in to the About Her Show. If you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more from where that came from. Our previous guests have shared some amazing stories, so be sure to catch up on past episodes. To keep up with our inspiring conversations and to never miss an update, hit subscribe, rate, review, and share the love. Follow us on social media for some great content, and don't forget to check out our website www.abouthershow.com. aboutherbysangeeta.com for stories that resonate, inspire, and empower. Know a remarkable woman or an inspiring man blazing a trail? We'd love to hear from you. Drop us a note at web.abouther@gmail.com and let's bring their story to life on the About Her Show.